Hi, I'm Chris Barton. I'm the author of Whoosh, Lonnie Johnson's Super Soaking Stream of Inventions, one of your Texas Bluebonnet Award Master List books for 2017-2018. This story is about not giving up. Have you ever had a project or story that you never ever gave up on? Yes, I did. My very first book, The Dayglow Brothers, took me 8 years to get published, including 23 rejection letters I received. I'm so glad I did not give up after receiving 5 or 15 or even 23 rejection letters, because if I had, we wouldn't have this book and we might not have ever had Whoosh. Did you buy and play with a Super Soaker while doing research for this book? You might have thought that I would have, but in fact I didn't. I would love to have gotten my hands on one of the original prototypes Lonnie Johnson worked on while he was inventing the Super Soaker. Since the book was finished, I've gotten one of the modern Super Soakers, which is very different from the one you see on the cover of the book. And I've also gotten myself a toy. This is one of the original Super Soakers. This is the kind of Super Soaker you see on the cover of Whoosh, and I'm very happy to have it. How does your research change when the main character of the story is still alive? Well, a big difference is I was able to interview Lonnie Johnson. I wasn't able to interview the Switzer brothers or the Christensen brothers or John Roy Lynch, the subjects of my previous nonfiction books, but I was able to interview Lonnie Johnson on 4 occasions, and that made a world of difference for this book. You mentioned that you got the idea of this story from a lunch you had with some librarians. How did you go about finding the story of an African-American scientist and a story that needed to be told? Well, finding the story was relatively easy. I went back to my hotel room that evening and I began Googling African-American scientists, African-American inventors. Getting that list of names, seeing Lonnie Johnson's name, that was relatively easy. Getting the story, it took talking with Lonnie Johnson. It took researching far beyond what Google could return for me. It meant looking in databases, looking in the university libraries, getting books through interlibrary loan. So finding the stories, finding out who to write about, that's the easy part. But digging and digging and digging so that you get as much of the story as you can, as many sides of the story as you can, that's what involved a lot of effort, but it was so worthwhile and I love doing it. What advice can you offer our young writers as they learn to improve their skills? 3 pieces of advice. Number 1, always have something with you if you possibly can, to where you can write down your story ideas when they come to you. You don't want to have an idea but then forget what the idea was. That feels terrible. Also, go for lots of walks, go for lots of runs. If you like running, you get lots of story ideas then. You may not have a notepad with you while you're running, so write your story idea down as soon as you get home. And my 3rd piece of advice is find a writing community, even if it's just one other person that you can share stories with. That will make you and them better writers, and you will both enjoy writing a lot more if you do it that way. Well, thank you for giving me a chance to talk with you today about Whoosh, Lonnie Johnson's Super Soaking Stream of Inventions. Thank you for reading this book as part of the Texas Bluebonnet Award program. I hope to come to your school in the not so distant future, so I will plan on seeing you then.